You start dealing with a series of shootings. It's a little out of the ordinary. Take me through that.
The first shooting occurs on December 11th, 2020 at Huntington Street in New Haven. There's a report of 5 gunshots in the area. The residence was struck multiple times. The house was occupied, but nobody was hit. When police responded, they located multiple .45 caliber shell casings at the scene. There's a second shooting that occurs January 15th, 2021. The third shooting occurred February 5th. A fourth incident occurred on February 6th. It's another residence. It was occupied, but nobody was hurt inside. There were 5 rounds that were shot into. It was occupied. Fortunately, nobody was hit. The residence was struck multiple times by gunfire. Nobody was injured. Patrol officers located one .45 caliber, located multiple casings, .45 caliber. .45 caliber shell casings were located at the scene.
4 shootings over a few months. Do they have anything in common?
The common denominator was the caliber of the gun that was used. It's .45 caliber casings that were located at all 4 of those scenes. And in the last 2 shootings, there was a description of a dark-colored SUV.
Are officers concerned that at some point, someone is going to get hurt?
Yes.
8:30 Saturday night, residents in the East Rock neighborhood heard the distinct sound of gunfire.
On February 6th at around 8:30 p.m., we get the report of a person shot at Lawrence and Nickel Street in New Haven. That person was later identified as Kevin Jiang and was pronounced deceased on the scene. We located 8 .45 caliber shell casings. There were a few 911 callers that saw a dark-colored SUV flee the area.
A sense of shock and sadness has settled on the Yale University community after the Saturday night shooting death of grad student Kevin Jiang.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Fitness with Kevin. I'm Kevin.
It still doesn't feel real. You know, like it still doesn't feel real.
You're such a cutie.
He was just a very happy person, a very genuine soul.
The victim was a student at Yale's School of the Environment, originally from Chicago. He was an Army vet who posted on Facebook just a week ago his joy in getting engaged.
He was so in love with Zion. He was just like, oh, Zion this and Zion that. Like, everything was about Zion. He really loved her.
So you guys walk up to the scene. What do you see?
Kevin's body, he was laying on his right side. His feet were on the stop line here, and his head was towards the first line of the crosswalk. And then we see the casings. There's a shell casing by the bottom of the S and a few feet from the P. And then there were 6 more spread out by the first crosswalk line. We could see gunshot wounds to his upper body and to his head. There were some shots that were at close range.
There was something personal about this?
Yes. We'll use Facebook as a tool to try and get a little bit of background on an individual, who they're friends with.
And so you're going down the list of names. Nothing, 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 and then you're like, whoa.
There's our connection.
It was a cold night in February 2021 when lead detective David Zaweski and his colleague Stephen Cunningham arrived at the crime scene.
The patrol officers had already been out there canvassing the area. They were knocking on doors looking for anyone that might have seen anything or heard anything. The crime scene detectives were starting to locate all the shell casings.
26-year-old Yale graduate student Kevin Jiang was lying in the street, shot 8 times.
His body was still on scene, covered in a white sheet.
When you saw the body, what did you see?
What we could see were gunshot wounds to his upper body and to his head. And you could see stippling on the left side of his head.
Stippling is a burn pattern caused by gunpowder exploding from a weapon fired at close range. About 100 feet down the street,
There was a Prius just parked in the middle of the road with its hazards on.
they quickly discovered the Prius belonged to Kevin. Crime scene detectives noticed a peculiar bit of damage that suggested it had been hit from behind.
There was an impression that was left on the back bumper that looked like a license plate holder.
So this is like a fender bender. It's not a violent crash.
No, there's not much damage.
One witness told detectives she heard the sound of an accident and went to the window to look.
When they look out, they see a Prius come to a stop and put its hazards on. They see a dark-colored SUV pull up behind it and then reverse back towards the intersection. They see the operator of the Prius walk out and approach the SUV, most likely to see how they were, exchange insurance information. When the operator gets to the black SUV, they hear a round of gunshots, and they see the muzzle flash from the gun from the driver's side of the SUV.
Another witness heard the first round of gunshots and went to her window.
When she looks outside, she sees a subject wearing all black standing over another individual who's laying on the ground. She hears another round of gunshots, and she can see the muzzle flash from the gun as he's firing.
She sees someone standing over another person, which means the victim is already down. And they're still shooting.
Yes.
What did you think?
There's a little bit more to it. It seems like a little bit more personal when you have someone that's laying on the ground and not moving. What would cause someone to continue firing at them?
The detectives were able to confirm these accounts when they got a look at video from a neighbor's security system.
It was located on the inside of a window, facing outward.
Because most of the frame is a reflection of the interior of the house, we've zoomed in to focus on what's happening on the street. A warning, this may be difficult to listen to.
We hear the collision between the two cars. And then that's when you see Kevin's Prius pull into frame and the SUV pulls up behind him and then reverses out of frame. You see Kevin exit his vehicle and then walk out of frame to approach the SUV. You then hear 2 gunshots, a scream, and then 6 more gunshots.
Moments later, the video shows the SUV driving off into the night.
Can you make out any details when it comes to the SUV?
Unfortunately not. You could kind of get the idea of the potential make and model of it with the taillights, but you couldn't discern any identifying features.
Investigators soon felt the dark SUV and the .45 caliber shells recovered at the scene pointed to a potential link to those earlier shootings around the area that police had been investigating. 4 times over a 2-month span, someone fired shots into family homes. The 4th incident occurred just 1 hour before Kevin Jiang's murder.
We had detectives in the Bureau looking into each of the incidents to see if there's any more of a connection to link them.
2 bullets came in through this window and ended up in this wall.
Paul and Nairi White's home was the target of the 3rd shooting.
We had just finished dinner. I had a fire going.
Nairi, a school teacher, headed upstairs to take a shower. Paul, an educator with degrees from Yale, Harvard, and Columbia University, was sitting downstairs.
All of a sudden, something comes through this window. Then a 2nd bullet came through. You heard the pop and the glass going everywhere with that one.
Paul shouted a warning to Nairi.
Get down, someone's shooting.
And then I heard bang, pop again. And I turned and I literally saw the frame of the door just splintered.
And then she yells back at you.
Right, that's someone shooting upstairs.
It was over in a matter of moments, and no one was injured.
Do you feel lucky?
Yes,
Absolutely.
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 Detectives interviewed the Whites and the occupants of the other houses.
There didn't seem to be any connection between them.
And none of them, investigators say, had any connection to Kevin Jiang. But the shell casings from all the shootings would later tell a different story.
When the casings are sent to the lab, they all came back as matches to the casings found at the homicide.
The casings matched, but Kevin was the only person murdered, and detectives didn't know why.
It could have been a road rage incident that turned a little too violent.
Or was Kevin Jiang targeted?
The car accident was deliberate to get him out of the vehicle. Possibly seemed like it was planned.
And if he was specifically targeted, what could have happened in his life to drive someone to do this?
It was late when Detectives Zaweski and Cunningham left the crime scene on February 6th. They went to Kevin Jiang's home looking to find a family member to notify about what had happened. His mother, Linda Liu, came to the door.
It's got to be the hardest conversation.
It is. They always are.
Hi, Mom. Happy birthday.
You want to be direct and upfront and make it clear, as horrific as it is for them. So we explained to her that he was shot and killed in the area of Lawrence and Nickel Street in New Haven.
Can she even comprehend that?
She's absolutely devastated. She falls to the ground crying.
The detectives wanted to know everything about Kevin and why he may have been targeted that night. Linda began to tell them about her son.
It was just the two of them, and he was actually supporting her. She told us that he was a grad student at Yale University and was in the Army National Guard.
Kevin was deeply religious. He and his mother were part of the congregation at Trinity Baptist Church. Pastor Gregory Hendrickson knew them both and says that Linda, a divorced single parent, got Kevin through a tough childhood where he was often bullied.
She was very committed to sort of seeing him come through, and eventually he thrived on the other side of that. I think he had a sense of honoring his mom by, as she had cared for him when he was a child, caring for her as she was getting older.
Kevin bought this house in 2019, and Hendrickson says he invited his mother to come live with him.
She was living alone. She was living on the other side of the country. She didn't have a lot of family support around her, and he wanted her to come and be with him during his studies at Yale.
Police also learned that Kevin had recently gotten engaged to his girlfriend of a year, Zion Perry. She posted the proposal on Facebook. This was just 1 week before he was murdered.
He was so in love with Zion. You could tell. He didn't even have to really say too much.
Naja Hubbard, who served with Kevin in the Army National Guard.
Oh my gosh. So I remember one time he was on the phone with her, and I was like, wow, like you could hear the genuineness and his love towards her. And I was like, wow, I hope I find someone like that.
Zion Perry grew up in Pennsylvania, where she was an honors high school student. The couple met in January of 2020 when Zion was still an undergraduate at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT.
He said, I met her at a Christian retreat, and she's very kind, and we enjoy talking and just have great conversations together. Then she came to do her PhD at Yale. They clearly shared a lot in common. They both love nature. I mean, Zion's a scientist who's studying molecular biophysics and biochemistry. So, he was studying in the School of the Environment. They're both brilliant and hardworking students. And yet They didn't feel like their accomplishments were what defined them at the deepest level.
Zaweski and Cunningham then interviewed an emotional Zion. She told them she and Kevin had spent the day together.
They had gone ice fishing and had dinner at her house, and then he left her house around 8:30 that night.
Kevin didn't get far. His Prius was struck by the dark SUV just 2 blocks from Zion's house, close enough for Zion to hear the gunshots that followed.
She remembers hearing the gunshots, but she thought there was a good 5 or 10 minutes after he'd left to when she heard the gunshots. So she didn't think he was anywhere near the area and didn't think twice about him potentially being involved in any way.
Did she have any idea who would have done something like this?
At that point, I know. Nothing that she told us that she could think of.
After speaking with Zion, detectives were no closer to figuring out why Kevin would be a target.
Seemed like just an innocent guy.
Did you think this was going to be a tough case, though?
That night,
yes,
we had a little bit, but there wasn't a lot to go on.
I just had somebody drive through my yard here.
How you doing?
But just 15 hours after the shooting,
What are you doing back here?
they got a huge break.
Little did we know that we'd get the phone call the next day.
I just got it here accidentally and I got stuck.
And it was like,
Okay.
wow.
News of Kevin's murder spread among his loved ones and closest friends.
I was at home and I actually got a phone call from another soldier. And she was saying, I know you guys were close, and her voice cracked. And she told me that he had passed away. And I was like, not comprehending what was going on. So I texted him and I was like, answer your phone, please. And obviously he never answered me.
Lieutenant Hubbard reached out to Captain Jamila Aye, and if sharing the news about Kevin wasn't tragic enough, someone posted the chilling video of his murder online, and his fellow soldiers now saw and heard Kevin's final moments alive.
To this day, I can still hear him, him screaming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was like, why did I listen to that?
Detectives Zaweski and Cunningham were back at their desks in headquarters, struggling for answers and leads to pursue.
Day 2, you get a phone call.
Yes.
The call from a sergeant at nearby North Haven Police Department was urgent.
2 incidents that happened in North Haven the night before and then earlier that morning.
It began with a 911 call from a local scrap metal yard around 9 p.m., less than a half hour after Kevin was killed.
I'm the security guard at Sims Metal Management. I just had somebody drive through my yard here. They didn't know where they were going, so I've been chasing them around the yard, and they just pulled way in the back off the property. It's like a black minivan, SUV type of thing.
Police body cameras were rolling when Sergeant Jeffrey Mills and Officer Marcus Artiz spotted that vehicle stuck on snow-covered railroad tracks, not far from the rear exit of the Sims scrap metal yard. They approached the driver.
Stuck.
What are you doing back here, though?
I just got it here accidentally and I got stuck. Is there any way to get stuck here?
The only thing I can do is call you a tow truck.
Okay, cool, thanks.
The motorist was 29-year-old Kingshin Pan from Malden, Massachusetts.
Okay, do you have your driver's license on you?
Yes.
Registration?
His driver's license and criminal background were clean. During the encounter, Sergeant Mills noticed a yellow jacket on the passenger seat. He also saw a blue bag and a briefcase in the back seat, but not much else.
He took a wrong turn. He got lost. And he thought the Jeep was probably chasing him, the security guy.
Because Sergeant Mills hadn't heard about Kevin's murder, he wasn't particularly concerned.
So it's nothing, you think?
Yeah,
He doesn't look like he's got to scrap anything. I mean,
no. I've been on the tracks, I don't know how many times with vehicles that were, called in as suspicious or whatever, but kids go back there. People always come down there, according to the security guard, and they turn around in the front lot and they leave because they missed a highway or something.
Did he look nervous?
He wasn't nervous at all. He was perfectly calm.
So what do you recommend I do? I mean, if I can get it off the track, I prefer to drive it myself.
It was just like, oh, sorry, I got stuck on the tracks. Can you help me get off?
so how about you get a hotel for the night? We'll have the tow truck drop you off at the hotel. You pay for a credit card, and you can arrange to pick it up the car in the morning.
Okay, let's get the hotel then.
Yeah, let's do that.
If it is difficult.
That's probably the safest thing to do.
Okay.
Okay.
The tow truck came. It took a little work, but it got it off the tracks. He gave Mr. Pan a ride back to Best Western, and I cleared the call, like any other call.
But hours later, there was another call to 911.
February 7th, around 11 a.m.
Hello, can I help you? This is the police department.
Hello, I work at Arby's here in North Haven.
Mm-hmm.
We found a gun and probably like 10 boxes of bullets.
An employee found a couple of bags on the grass at the north entrance here. When they brought them in,
there were 3 bags. This one, that one, and this. Got it.
took a better look at the bags that it came in, and here's a blue retail bag with the Massachusetts logo on it, and a small leather black briefcase, and it instantly hit me. These are the bags that were in Mr. Pan's car the night before.
The Arby's was right next door to the Best Western where Pan was dropped off. And by then, Mills had heard about the murder in New Haven.
What's going through your brain?
At that point, knowing that New Haven had a homicide, they were looking for a dark-colored GMC SUV. Now we've got a firearm, and then Officer Bianchi shows me a yellow jacket that was in it, and the suspect was wearing a yellow jacket.
Jacket.
So he must be Best Western.
I'm going to go over there at 15 with him.
And when we got here, I went in to the front desk and spoke with the attendant there and asked if Waxon Pan had checked in, which they checked in and said, yes, he did. I mean, he hasn't checked out yet.
That's when Mills alerted New Haven Homicide about Pan.
Do you immediately think there might be a connection with the homicide?
There's a very good chance the vehicle matched. And the items that were left behind at the Arby's restaurant, it included a .45 caliber handgun.
Oh, boy.
And that matched the casings that were at the scene.
Zaweski immediately sent detectives to meet Mills at the Best Western.
So we got a key, went to room 276. We knocked on the door, we entered the room. The room was clean, nothing in it. It didn't appear that anybody stayed in it for the night. At first, we were like, oh, we lost them.
New Haven police sent investigators, including Detective Joe Galvin, to track down Pan. Galvin went to Malden, Massachusetts, where Pan lived with his parents and was a graduate student at MIT.
Right outside of Boston, very affluent homes. There was no one there when we knocked on the door. So the day after the homicide, we were unsure if maybe the family was on vacation, out of state, out of the country.
But police were also worried.
Were they, given the heinous act that occurred in New Haven the day before, were they potentially kidnapped by their own son? Were they victims of another horrible crime?
With Kenshin Pan and his parents missing from their home, Detective David Zaweski turned to his computer searching for Pan.
The first thing I want to know is who he is and if there's any connection between him and Kevin. I see that he has a Facebook page.
What was his page like?
There was not much activity at all. His last post was back in 2016, and he had a few photos with some other students, but that was it.
Is that when you first found out that he's an MIT grad student?
Yes, that was the first time we got the connection between him and MIT. So I check his friends list to see if Kevin is in there.
Is he?
Kevin is not listed, but I do notice that Zion Perry is listed.
Zion Perry, Kevin's fiancée, who also went to MIT.
Now we have a connection. I got in contact with her. She explained that they had met at MIT back in 2019, and they were more associates than friends.
Nothing romantic.
No. She said that they never dated, they never had any romantic relationship. The last time she spoke with him was May of 2020. He reached out to her through Facebook Messenger to congratulate her on graduating. He asked to FaceTime with her, and she politely declined it.
She must have been wondering, why are you asking me so many questions about this guy? What'd you say to her?
She was, and that's when I told her that he was a person of interest in this. And she was completely shocked. He was barely a part of her life, and why he would have been involved with this in any way.
What did she have posted on her page?
The last things that she had posted were the engagement between her and Kevin.
Are you starting to formulate a theory about the case that goes a little beyond possible road rage?
Yes. It did seem like there was a secret obsession of Pan's going on behind the scenes that Kevin wasn't aware of and that Zion wasn't aware of.
The next day, Zion Perry joined Kevin's mother, Linda Liu, and father, Mingshen Jiang, and nearly 700 people on a virtual vigil for Kevin. Zion addressed the mourners.
One day I will get to see Kevin again, in heaven and when everything is made right. I thank Miss Liu and Mr. Jiang for raising such a fine young man and for bringing him into the world.
He gave me a lot of joy. He's a very thoughtful, warm boy, taking care of me, and I miss him.
He's a nice boy. Everybody likes him. Thank you. Thank you all.
That week, Pastor Hendrickson eulogized Kevin at his funeral.
We come to you today remembering Kevin, grateful for his life, grieving over his loss.
Zion read a poem Kevin wrote to her. It began,
"If this world falls apart, it will be all right because we have each other's hearts."
A medical officer also trained to operate tanks. Kevin was buried with full military honors just 2 days before his 27th birthday on Valentine's Day. Meanwhile, Detective Galvin, a member of the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force in Connecticut, along with Supervisor Matthew Duffy and Deputy Marshal Kevin Perrault, were utilizing their vast resources to urgently gather intelligence on Pan.
MIT graduate, not socially active, degree in computer science.
Grad student in artificial intelligence.
Lawyer William Gerace.
Very smart.
Genius?
Genius. Socially, not a genius.
The marshals discovered Pan had 3 active phones, and they noticed that in the months before Kevin was killed, Pan was using one of those phones to contact car dealerships.
He would tell them all the same thing. He said he's going for a test drive. I believe he said he was going on a camping trip.
Investigators were able to match the date of Pan's test drives with each of the 45 caliber shootings in New Haven, including Kevin's murder. It was all part of a plan, investigators say. They believe that Pan likely fired shots into those homes to ultimately mislead them, hoping they would think Kevin's murder was just another random shooting.
He planned it, and he knew we'd be looking at these other things.
Yeah, he did his best to mislead us. And now we knew that, yes, this wasn't a random incident out there, that he was targeted.
They also discovered that not long after Kevin's murder, Pan called his parents, and they made a cash withdrawal of about $1,000.
They had tremendous assets, somehow from Shanghai.
Access to large sums of money, several $1 million.
The marshals zeroed in on Pan's parents and picked up a ping on their phone at this North Carolina gas station.
Our task force found it on the ground.
The cell phone was crushed.
Yeah, like a car ran over it.
3 days later, investigators caught up with Pan's parents driving near Atlanta, Georgia.
Georgia State Police pulled him over.
He's not in the vehicle.
Nope.
Police told them they suspected their son had killed someone.
Were they shocked?
No.
They weren't shocked that their son was being investigated and connected with a cold-blooded murder.
They may have been, but they didn't lead on to us at all. They didn't lead on to us at all.
The father said our son called, said he was in Connecticut and needed help. He asked us to bring cash. Then once we picked him up in Connecticut, he took the wheel, and then they take this very long drive down south.
Pan's father didn't say why his son was heading in that direction.
And he says he's quiet, acting weird, doesn't really say what's going on. They make it down to Georgia. He pulls over, and he gets out of the car and walks away. He said no words to them, just walked away from the car. That was their story.
Pan's parents agreed to be photographed. Pan's mother declined to answer any questions without an attorney, but she later volunteered that her son walked away from her and his father and likely killed himself. The marshals were skeptical.
We knew after talking to the parents that they would go to jail for him. Knowing the degree that the parents were helping him and his resources, his intelligence, we had to take a different approach on it.
We needed to focus in on the parents because they probably would lead us to him.
They would go to the ends of the earth to help support and hide him.
And what does that mean?
Patience.
And they would need plenty of it. Weeks went by without an arrest. They wondered if they missed something and if their murder suspect had outmaneuvered them.
What do you think of Pan's plan to mislead investigators? See more of the evidence at 48hours.com.
Five weeks passed without a solid lead on the MIT student wanted for Kevin Jiang's murder.
U.S. Marshals are leading a nationwide manhunt this morning for the man charged in the murder of a Yale grad student.
You give me a real sense of the pressure.
Yeah, because this became so high profile so fast, it was just heightened.
Then the manhunt for Pan suddenly heated up. Police said his mom told them she suspected her son killed himself, but they noticed his parents had a lot of banking activity.
We start to see large sums of cash being withdrawn.
How much?
At that time, it was about $5,000, $10,000.
That's a large sum of money that someone could use to get out of the country.
They still have family in China.
And then Pan's parents rented a car.
They start traveling south again.
But the vehicle's GPS system the marshals were tracking went dark.
Did they turn it off?
It was disabled.
By then, investigators said they knew that their son had disabled GPS systems in several cars he drove in the run-up to Kevin's murder.
Counter-tactics.
Counter-tactics.
At one point, surveillance cameras at this Georgia mall recorded Pan's father purchasing a computer.
Now, this is during COVID, so everybody has their masks on. We see the father walk in, and probably about 10 minutes later, we see an individual fitting the description of the son. So the story of the suicide out in the woods, that's not true. So from there, the parents end up traveling back north.
Once they're in Connecticut, the GPS comes back on.
We felt the clock was really ticking.
And it ticked away for nearly 2 more months until May 4th, 2021. when Pan's parents drove off for a third time. But there was a difference.
They were traveling with another couple.
What do you think the deal was with the other couple?
Yeah, make it appear that it's a regular trip. No big deal. We're just going on a trip to meet some friends. We're not here to help our son.
Pan's parents and their unwitting companions were eventually placed under surveillance at a North Carolina hotel, where marshals interviewed a clerk after the Pans checked out.
At one point, Kinshin Pan's mother came to the clerk's desk late at night and asked to borrow his phone.
Here is the picture of Pan's mother making the call that broke the case wide open.
After she used his phone, she deleted the number from his phone.
Were you able to find that number?
Yes.
We were.
The marshals tracked the phone to this boarding house near Alabama State University in Montgomery.
So you guys are closing in.
Yeah.
They went out there with a small army, around 20 guys. They ended up finding his room, and they knocked on it, and he just came out and said, "I'm who you're looking for."
He had approximately $20,000 cash on him. He had his father's passport. And he had multiple communication devices on him. So
7 SIM cards.
7 SIM cards and
a computer.
Pan was arrested for the murder of Kevin Jiang and brought back to Connecticut. He maintained his innocence, but a judge ordered him held on a $20 million bond.
Huge relief.
His case was delayed by the pandemic, but investigators had amassed a trove of evidence. Remember that license plate imprint on Kevin's car? Police say it matched the plate on the bumper of the SUV Pan was driving when Kevin was rear-ended. And forensic tests revealed that Pan's DNA was on the gun and ammo found outside Arby's, and Kevin's blood was also on Pan's hat and the gear shift of the SUV Pan was driving the night Kevin was murdered.
Was there anything missing?
The murder weapon.
Turns out the gun recovered at the Arby's was not the gun that was used to kill Kevin. Supervisory Assistant State's Attorney Stacey Miranda.
Who knows where that murder weapon ended up?
But there was so much other evidence that Pan's lawyer, William Gerace, recommended he cut a deal.
Overwhelming evidence. Overwhelming evidence.
On February 29, 2024, 3 years after Kevin's killing, Pan pled guilty to his murder in exchange for serving 35 years in prison without parole.
And had he not been stuck on the railroad tracks, this still might not be a solved case. We might not know who did this.
Bring out Pan, please.
At his sentencing in April, Pan sat silently as Kevin's loved ones and friends described their loss. By court order, the camera was fixed on him. Some of Kevin's mother's remarks were read by a family friend.
I was dreaming that Kevin would have a few beautiful children after getting married. This beautiful and joyful dream is destroyed. I am left alone by myself. I will never see Kevin smile again.
Then Kevin's mother decided to speak.
To charge the murderer Pan 35 years in prison is too short and too light.
Pan never explained why he killed Kevin, but the only time he looked up was when Zion Perry rose to speak.
I wanted to address Pan specifically. Although your sentence is far less than you deserve, there is also mercy. May God have mercy on you, and may He have mercy on all of us.
Then Pan briefly addressed the court.
Your Honor, what I'm thinking about is my action and the horrible consequences. I feel sorry for what my actions caused, and for everyone affected, I fully accept my penalties.
Court is going to impose the agreed upon sentence of 35 years.
Finally, Judge Harmon passed sentence, and Pan was led away in handcuffs.
Did you ever consider charging his parents?
We couldn't charge him because we couldn't prove that they knew when they picked him up that he had committed a murder.
So they might be lucky that they didn't find themselves charged as well.
100%.
We reached out to Pan's parents for comment, but did not hear back. Now Kevin's friends are left to wonder what Kevin, a man of deep faith, might have thought about his killer.
Do you think Kevin would have forgiven Pan?
Yes, I do.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
The officers visited Kevin's grave after they spoke to 48 Hours. Lieutenant Hubbard recalled her first time there, when she says she felt Kevin's presence.
And did something happen?
It's just like wind blew, you know? And
Did you feel like it was him?
I felt like it was definitely different, as it's like a piece, kind of like, I want you to carry on. Don't be sad that I'm gone. Just keep going.
CBS next Saturday. A mother vanishes without a trace.
She never would have left like this.
Do you think Dee Warner was murdered?
Yes.
Can it be proved without a body?
You don't get away with murder because you're good at disposing of bodies.
48 Hours is all new. CBS next Saturday, 10/9 Central, and streaming on Paramount+.
Greenwood. I lived here half my life. Everyone knows everyone and their business. I have decided to set the story straight. It's still surreal. I still think maybe I'll wake up. We were out for my birthday. I remember I was just sitting at the bar and he sat down beside me and we just talked the rest of the night.
You were there the night she met Davis.
I was there that night.
Did it seem like there was chemistry right off the bat?
Immediately. I would immediately.
Davis, he was so kind. And I mean, his heart was huge. We enjoyed each other so much. It was an amazing 6 months.
Meredith, her and Davis, they would go on away weekends a lot. I liked him. His smile was so contagious, and he's just such a sweet guy. I would have never expected this to happen, ever.
Greenwood County 911. What is a one-person car wreck? Okay, it was a car wreck and somebody is hurt.
I pull up right beside Davis's car, and he wasn't in his car. And that's when I noticed his airbags were out. So then also, that's when I kind of started looking at the car more and noticed that his front tire was smashed in. And I remember looking, and I noticed there's a body. Meredith just started like screaming, like, "Who is it? Who is it?"
And you look over. What do you think you were looking at?
Davis.
He was laying there, and his head was rested on this log like a pillow. And he was shirtless, and his face was covered in blood.
Was there anything about the scene that struck you as odd?
Davis being all the way on the other side of the road, the car being wrecked, like none of that. I couldn't piece anything together.
Davis's car was way over there, and his body was way down here. And I was like, well, how did he end up down here?
That's quite a distance.
Yeah.
To here.
It is quite a distance.
Originally, it came out as a possible traffic accident, and then once officers arrived on scene, they realized it was more than that.
A lot of people think it was an auto accident. Well, no, it wasn't.
I do believe that this was an accident and not an intentional killing.
It was a murder.
I was in shock. I was like, it doesn't even make sense.
The photographs of the crime scene, the text messages from Davis's phone, the ring videos, looking at everything and the totality of the case. It was very powerful.
How could any of this possibly happen?
There's so many things missing from the story. And once I kind of get that out there, then I can close the chapter.
1028 Whiskey Echo Victor 253.
It was May 7th, 2023, just after 1 a.m., when authorities responded to a reported road accident on a secluded, dead-end street in Greenwood, South Carolina.
Start roping this off because this is going to be a crime scene.
At the edge of the nearby woods, they would find 46-year-old Davis McClendon's body. But what they saw at first was on the road itself. A shirt, a shoe, and a mangled sedan.
And there was significant damage to the fender.
It was a BMW 5 Series, similar to this one, we're using to demonstrate the position of the vehicle that night. After first responders had locked everything down, Greenwood County Sheriff's Office investigator Patrick Durkin arrived to photograph the scene.
The front driver's side wheel was turned slightly.
Whatever had transpired at this deserted crossroads, Durkin's job was to freeze it in time. First responders had thought Davis McClendon's injuries seemed consistent with having been hit by a vehicle, though no other vehicle relating to the collision was there. They'd found Davis's body about 50 feet away from the BMW, leading them to suspect he'd been outside his car when he was hit.
There was no rain or anything that would potentially wash anything away, so the main thing I focused on was the vehicle.
Durkin says he noticed some strange damage to the BMW.
Usually when you'd think of a normal fender bender, it would just kind of be pressed into it, and this was torn back like a tuna can in a sense.
It had made authorities wonder if it was a hit and run or something more sinister. Those airbags were out and a phone was on the front passenger seat. Durkin saw more debris in the road, but nothing particularly telling.
The assumption was that he was struck by a vehicle.
Investigator Ronnie Powell from the Greenwood County Sheriff's Office says authorities had learned more by speaking to two women at the scene, Meredith Haney and Megan McGovern, who'd called 911. Megan often babysat for Meredith's 3 children.
They provided statements of what they saw and what had occurred all night long.
What did Meredith say?
She pretty much gave a summary of the whole backstory, that she had been dating Davis.
Meredith had told authorities that Davis left a club they'd been in that night, calling her minutes later from the road, saying he was parked at the intersection of Avid Road and Sawgrass Place. When he'd put her on hold and then failed to come back on the line, Meredith was worried and got a ride there from Megan. It was Megan, the babysitter, who'd gotten out of her car and was the first to see Davis's body.
That news must have been stunning.
Yeah, it was devastating. It was crushing.
Davis McClendon was the ultimate people person, without an enemy in the world, say his friends Chip Funderbunk.
Everybody loved Davis. He was just awesome.
Zach Calhoun.
He loved big.
And Johnny Coates.
And what Zach said, he was everyone's best friend.
He was.
He loved everyone.
But none of them could remember Davis ever mentioning the specifics of his love life, not until he met Meredith Haney.
He told me that he had met somebody and they had just kind of been chatting and, enjoying getting to know each other. It seemed like a good thing, seemed like a positive thing for sure.
Calhoun says Davis had gone through a divorce, but the end of his marriage hadn't done anything to weaken his devotion as a father and a friend, even to the residents of the retirement home where he worked.
He was the most empathetic person I've ever met.
More than 4 months before Davis died, on the night of December 23, 2022, Meredith was at that club, celebrating her 39th birthday with her best friends. She says they were wearing their worst Christmas sweaters when the handsome stranger struck up a conversation.
And I think he texted on Christmas Day, and then the next day, and then the next.
And you just kept on talking.
Mm-hmm.
Until meeting Davis, she says she'd been keeping her head down. Just about 6 months earlier, she had left her husband of 10 years, a local auto body shop owner named Bud Ackerman, and she was struggling to balance parenting their 3 kids and her job as a grammar school teacher. She says she knew getting involved with someone new would not be easy.
Was there any hesitancy about moving forward with this?
There was.
She says first Davis wanted to make sure she had no intention of reconciling her marriage.
He didn't want to be the reason that, we didn't get our family back together. So we made sure from the get-go that that wasn't going to be an issue. And it just happened.
They would have less than 6 months together.
Could you start to guess what may have happened, how it was hit?
The night of Davis's death, at the site, investigator Patrick Durkin noticed something beyond the strangeness of the crashed car and Davis's distance from it. There was an oil slick in the road.
It's still here.
Just over a year later, it's still here, but there was a number of footprints and some tire tracks that were leading away from this oil stain.
And what did that tell you when you saw it?
Well, we knew that there was some type of impact to the vehicle, and then we knew there was oil and tire marks that left from here.
It looked like evidence from the vehicle that hit Davis.
You guys are looking around, and you realize the oil continues?
You could see it was very obvious that there was tire marks that had gone back down the road and kind of turned around.
Back where the tire tracks seemed to show a vehicle had turned around, investigators had found oil spatters on a street light post.
It was about maybe this high.
And from there was a trail of oil that had led down the road into the distance.
It's breadcrumbs, basically.
In a manner of speaking.
We just have to do the investigation and see what evidence is there and see where it leads us to. There was a trail that led from the incident location.
Investigator Ronnie Powell says by the time authorities started following that oil trail from the crash site, they had a solid hunch where it might lead. Davis McClendon's girlfriend, Meredith Haney, had told them she'd suspected where he had been going when he left her at the bar that night, to meet her estranged husband, Bud Ackerman. And it turns out the oily evidence led right to Ackerman's parents' house.
Garage is open.
He'd been living there since separating from Meredith about a year earlier.
Sheriff's office. Yes, sir.
Authorities' body cameras were rolling.
He kind of walked up and almost was expecting us.
Bud Ackerman and his father were both standing near the garage.
Are there some kids here?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, whose kids are they?
Mine.
Yours and who?
My wife.
Okay.
Bud had spent the day with his 3 kids at a local festival. He and his wife Meredith had a custody arrangement, and it was his night with the kids. But in the driveway, authorities noticed his white Ford F-250 pickup.
That's wild.
With oil leaking from the undercarriage, they also noticed a crack in the grille and other evidence that suggested the vehicle had hit someone.
That's a palm mark.
Investigators turned to Bud.
Do you have your ID on you?
I do not.
Okay, just step over here for me.
Authorities say Bud told them he would not answer questions without his lawyer present. But from speaking with Meredith, they learned she had a contentious relationship with her soon-to-be ex-husband and came to suspect a jealous Bud Ackerman had mowed Davis McClendon down. Looking at the scene, they deduced Davis had been standing outside his BMW, as shown in this CBS News animation based on their investigation. They suspect Bud's pickup truck sideswiped the sedan and hit Davis, carrying him on the vehicle's grille and depositing his body across the road. Meredith says Bud had been upset since reaching out to her days earlier when he found out she was dating Davis.
He texted me.
What did he text you?
He said something about, Meredith, how could you?
What was your reaction to that text?
I think it was hurt. Like I felt bad because I just don't like to hurt people's feelings. I don't like people to be hurt. So I felt bad.
What had begun years earlier as a promising marriage that would bear 3 kids had fallen apart.
He was a good father. He was a really good dad.
Bud was from a prominent local family and he was a business owner. But Meredith says his work had become stressful.
I started to notice like some depression and things like that that I've never seen before.
She says he started drinking a lot. And the more he drank, she says, the more unpredictable he became.
There was screaming, cussing.
You felt threatened?
Absolutely.
Meredith says he never laid a hand on her, but destroyed her sense of self.
The house was never clean enough. There were never enough groceries. It was so loud and vulgar. It was very degrading.
Then, she says, she noticed her husband was starting to become paranoid. She remembers being in her closet one day and noticing a strange pillow.
He had cut a hole in it.
According to Meredith, there was a hidden camera inside.
And then I started finding more of them.
What other places did you find cameras?
There was one hidden in our dresser that faced the bed. Found one in a bush in the front yard. He put them in all the kids' rooms.
She says that was the last straw. They separated in the spring of 2022.
I could breathe. I could be me again.
Meredith says the separation seemed to help Bud too, that he'd stopped drinking and kept going to church with her and the kids. But by then she decided it was too late.
When I was done, I was done.
And starting again with someone new seemed like a distant dream, Meredith says, until that night Davis McClendon sauntered up and sat down in her life. They tried to keep things low-key at first. Meredith says she never wanted to rub Bud's nose in it.
So what did you all do?
We would go out of town.
But Meredith says they knew they couldn't sneak around forever. And it had started seeming like her new relationship with Davis was a forever kind of thing.
We talked about sitting on the porch, rocking chairs at 80, and it was just a different kind of relationship.
But after Bud found out, there were new complications.
He accused you of cheating?
Yeah.
Even though you were weeks away from your divorce?
Right.
Meredith says Bud actually called Davis and asked him to back off until the divorce was official.
What was Davis's reaction to that request?
I think he agreed. But then we talked about it and decided that was just giving him another little piece of control.
And on the night Davis died, she says Bud seemed out of control. Back at his parents' house, investigators now had a warrant and were finding more clues that Ackerman had been at the crash site.
Oily footprints. Oily footprints.
At about 6:30 a.m. on May 7th, 2023, Bud Ackerman was arrested. He would be charged with the murder of Davis McClendon.
We think there's enough evidence at the scene to prove of what occurred.
So by the end of the night, you already have someone in custody.
Yes.
What's left to do?
But that's just the beginning.
Because it turns out Bud Ackerman did have a story to tell. He says Davis was standing near the middle of a dark road, approximately shown in this CBS News animation. Bud says he didn't see Davis until it was too late. that hitting him had been an accident. And Bud's team says they can prove it. Investigators are confident they could prove Bud Ackerman's truck had hit and killed Davis McClendon, but they knew proving Ackerman had done it on purpose might be harder.
Building a case starts from that night.
And when investigators looked at that night, they learned Bud Ackerman had been tracking Davis and Meredith's whereabouts for hours.
He was trying to find them that night, and he was not happy about this whole situation.
Using security video, phone records, and even data from Bud's own truck, authorities built a timeline. They began with Meredith's phone, Lieutenant Matthew Womack of the Greenwood County Sheriff's Office.
We were able to extract the information, such as the calls and the texts.
A slew of calls and text messages Bud had made to Meredith leading up to the collision. At 8:54 p.m., Bud texts Meredith, "Why do you hate me? I just don't understand." She doesn't respond to him. She's out with Davis at a local restaurant.
We went to dinner at Break on the Lake.
You see Davis and Meredith, having dinner.
And being interrupted by Bud's attempts to reach her.
What was the FaceTime conversation like?
Where are you? Who are you with? Why are you doing this to me?
Did you tell him where you were?
I feel like at some point in the conversation, either he could tell where I was because of what's around me, or I finally did tell him. It was one or the other.
So at that point, he knows that you're out with Davis.
Mm-hmm.
While Meredith continued her date with Davis, security cameras catch Bud Ackerman at 10:40 p.m., arriving at a popular Greenwood club called Key West.
You can see Bud, he's talking to people, interacting, consuming alcohol.
The video shows Bud spent about an hour and a half at Key West, then called Meredith again.
How did he sound on the phone?
Intoxicated.
What's an intoxicated Bud sound like?
Vulgar.
Soon after midnight, Ackerman had left Key West. About a half hour later, cameras show Bud's truck circling in front of Break on the Lake. But by then, Meredith and Davis were no longer at the restaurant.
You can see his vehicle drive through the parking lot as if he's looking for him.
Lieutenant Womack says before long, investigators would learn just how far Bud Ackerman had gone that night to find Meredith and Davis. Though Ackerman himself wasn't talking, critical information would emerge from another digital witness, his truck.
It's a box about this big that goes into the backside of the dash.
Womack says in some cars and trucks, the infotainment systems, as they're known, store detailed information about how the vehicles are being driven. We're in a similar model to Bud's Ford F-250 pickup.
So on Bud's vehicle, they were able to pull a significant amount of information. This is just a little snippet. You're talking just in a 24-hour time period, it's over 3,000 events.
Events including snap measurements of speed, acceleration, and brake pressure. Bud's onboard computer even pinged public Wi-Fi's it passed. Investigators learned that Bud had actually driven by Meredith's house and onto Davis McClendon's street that night. But while he was driving around looking for them, ironically, they had moved to the Key West club he had just left.
When Davis decides to call Bud, he walked out the back of the bar.
It was 12:51 a.m.
A few minutes passed, and I went out there to check on him, and he was gone.
Did he think he could bring the temperature down?
Mm-hmm.
Records show Davis called her minutes later.
And what was that conversation?
Where are you? And that's when he told me that he was going to meet Bud.
Womack says other infotainment system data show that at a bit past 1 a.m, Davis and Bud had their fatal encounter.
And we can tell there was actually an event at 1:11 a.m. on May the 7th.
They say Ackerman hit the brakes hard.
We could narrow it down to tenths of seconds of when the collision occurred.
And according to the computer, seconds after the collision, Ackerman's truck had stopped.
At that point in time, Bud's opening the door. He opens the door before he shifts it to park.
Womack thinks Ackerman got out of his truck, which was probably leaking from the collision. Remember that puddle of oil in the road near the victim?
Then he closes the door, then he gets back in, and then it's shifted to drive at that point in time.
Then, say authorities, Ackerman turns his truck around near the lamppost, roughly as you see in this CBS News demonstration based on their investigation. He then drives away, leaking an oil trail all the way to his parents' driveway.
Right here, his phone becomes unavailable. The ignition turned off and it disconnected from his device.
What does that tell you?
That's when he got home and got out. It started to paint a very clear picture.
But Ackerman's attorney, Jack Swirling, paints a different picture.
I don't think he intended to run Davis McClendon over. There's no indication that he's an aggressive or violent individual.
Sheriff's office.
Nor, says Swirling, is there much to indicate his client was drunk that night.
Can I get you to step with me over here for me, please? All right.
None of the cops who arrested him reported he seemed tipsy.
The only one that said he was intoxicated was Meredith.
Was he stalking them that night?
I think he was trying to find out, confirm that they were together. He wanted to talk to her.
According to Swirling, Meredith and Davis had betrayed McClendon's promise to Bud to stand down until the Ackermans' marriage was officially over.
She couldn't wait another month, and she's out with this guy, and she's cheating on her husband. They are still legally married. South Carolina law calls that adultery.
And Swirling says the night Davis died, he let Bud Ackerman's repeated calls and text messages to Meredith get under his skin.
Davis got upset about it, and that's what led to them having this meeting. Bud thought they were going to meet and talk.
He says Bud had suggested an innocent and safe place for it to happen.
They were supposed to meet at Bud's parents' house, which is about half a mile from that location.
Swirling says Ackerman's children were sleeping there that night, so attacking Davis would have been the last thing on his client's mind.
You wouldn't meet at your parents' house if you were angry and threatening and ready to kill somebody.
He says it was Davis who selected the deserted intersection as a new location. And remember how Davis was found without his shirt on that night? Well, Swirling says he believes Davis took it off to prepare for a confrontation.
He was ready to fight.
Swirling insists Bud Ackerman meant no harm that night. And Bud is about to tell that story to a jury.
Your name?
William Gray Ackerman, Jr. I also go by Bud.
Good morning, everybody. We are on the record in the state versus William Bud Ackerman.
Prosecutors are determined to prove it was no accident that Bud Ackerman hit Davis McClendon the night he died. So in September of 2024, Assistant Attorneys General John Conrad and John Metters.
He intentionally drove his car into the body of Davis McClendon.
Start the case off with a bang.
Bam! And that's what this case is about.
They'll argue Ackerman couldn't stand the fact that his estranged wife was seeing someone, and Bud was searching for Meredith and Davis all over town.
Bud Ackerman was not going to let Davis McClendon be with Meredith.
That's your house right there. Yes, sir.
Metters and Conrad lead with their strongest evidence. There are actually time-stamped videos from the neighbors' doorbell cameras at the moment of the crash that killed Davis. It shows what they say is Bud's Ford F-250 driving through the frame. Seconds later on the video, what sounds like a crash. And seconds after that, a series of muffled sounds.
What did you hear?
I heard somebody yelling.
Okay.
Prosecutors argue it's Bud Ackerman's voice, yelling at Davis McClendon after running him down.
What it sounded like to me was, what do you want to talk about now?
Bud's yelling unheavenly expletives. He said to Davis as he was lying on the ground, I think he was glad he was dead.
But Bud Ackerman's defense attorney, Jack Swirling, argues the audio is too garbled to prove anything.
I've listened to it several times now, and I don't believe you could conclude 100% that that is exactly what he said.
The prosecutor then calls Megan McGovern, the Ackermans' babysitter and friend, to describe the moment she'd seen Davis's body through traumatized teenage eyes.
He had blood coming out of his ears and his nose, and I'm not exactly sure if it was coming out of his mouth or not, because I mean, there's just blood everywhere from his nose and everything.
But their star witness is the woman at the center of both men's affection, Meredith Haney, who testifies with the date night security videos as a guide.
Is that you?
Yes, sir.
She tells the jury Bud Ackerman called her when she and Davis were at Break on the Lake.
Did you think he was trying to find you?
I did worry, yes.
And kept calling after they got to Key West Club.
Is that a call from the defendant, Bud Ackerman?
Yes, sir.
Did you reject that call?
Yes.
It's 18 seconds later, you get another call.
Yes, sir.
Well, what'd you think about all these calls coming in?
I was getting very frustrated and angry. And it was getting obsessive. It was getting scary.
And she says by the time Davis McClendon left her at the Key West Club after midnight.
And is that Davis McClendon leaving the bar?
Yes.
She was worried Bud might be volatile. So when Davis later called to tell her he was going to meet with Ackerman, she says she wanted to go check on the situation in person, and makes clear to the jury that when she saw the scene, she had little doubt who killed her boyfriend.
I dove back into Meg's car because I thought that the only way that Bud would have ever killed somebody would have been to shoot.
Objection. Don't go.
The judge sustains the defense's objection, but Meredith continues.
I was scared that he was still out there.
Okay, Mr. Swirling, any cross-examination?
I have no questions.
Step down, ma'am.
Your Honor, State calls Special Agent Brian Hudak.
Digital forensics expert Brian Hudak tells the jury about data in the infotainment system of Ackerman's pickup, including some that show Bud was driving in exactly the right place.
In Greenwood at the intersection of Avid and Sawgrass.
At exactly the right time.
Between 1:11:31 and 1:11:32.
To be implicated in the deadly collision. He suggests they can even tell the moment of impact.
There's something that causes this truck to deaccelerate very quickly, correct? Correct.
And Hudak says the evidence shows Ackerman was going 25 miles per hour.
And the amount of detail that that truck had on what Bud did that night is simply breathtaking.
Ford vehicle's completely on the wrong side of the road when it strikes the BMW.
Collision reconstruction expert Corporal Christopher Bratcher testifies the dents show Bud's speeding pickup sideswiped Davis's BMW sedan, as shown in that CBS News animation based on the prosecution's theory. They say Bud was aiming at Davis, who was standing near the driver's door when he was hit, and that the truck kept going with Davis on the grill until he fell off where authorities found him. But Jack Swirling argues much of the same evidence shows hitting Davis was an accident.
We maintain that Mr. Ackerman did not act intentionally in this case.
He says Bud Ackerman had no idea Davis was standing outside his car, and calls auto forensics expert Jonathan Nelson to testify that given Ackerman's speed, in the dark, over a slope in the road and into the parked BMW's headlight beams, he wouldn't have seen Davis McClendon standing in the road until at most 2.5 seconds before the collision.
Or would a person have sufficient opportunity to avoid impact?
I think most people would have little to no opportunity to begin to try to avoid.
And Swirling says Davis wasn't standing right next to his car when he was hit, but further out towards the center of the road, and that Ackerman swerved to his left into the BMW to get around him, as shown in this CBS News animation based on the defense's theory.
He's trying to avoid hitting him.
Wouldn't you swerve the other way?
Why he didn't go right, I can't answer that.
Swirling knows there may be only one person who can.
Call Bud Ackerman.
All right, come around to the stand, please, sir.
Ackerman's attorney begins by trying to show the jury his client was Meredith's long-suffering but devoted husband.
Did you love her?
I did very much.
He admits he was angry at Meredith, but says he only wanted to talk to her and agreed to meet Davis to talk to him too.
Did you have any intention to hurt him?
I did not.
Ackerman says he hadn't realized how fast he was going and that he was only trying to pull up next to Davis to talk and didn't see McClendon standing in the road until the last moment.
What action did you take, if any, to avoid hitting the person?
I jerked my truck as hard as I could to the left to try to hit his car to stop the motion of my truck from going forward.
But on cross-examination, he admits something that undercuts his claims of innocence that night. He had never called 911.
I panicked.
You panicked?
Instead, he left the scene and drove to his parents' house and told them what had happened. But they never called authorities either.
I've seen so many people react in abnormal ways in all the cases I've handled that I've come to expect those kind of things.
In closings, prosecutor Metters argues Ackerman is a murderer with a truck as his weapon.
This might as well be a drive-by shooting with a gun.
And he says the Ford pickup's infotainment system proves it.
This is Bud's brain. This is malice. This is intent.
The state has not proven that Mr. Ackerman acted with malice or with the intent.
It's the highest possible bar, and the defense insists the state has not proven its case.
That Mr. Ackerman is entitled to a verdict of not guilty.
This is judgment day. It's verdict day.
You never know what a jury's going to do. You got 12 people making the decision.
Have you reached a verdict in this case? Ladies and gentlemen, it's my understanding that the jury has reached a verdict.
For the Ackerman jury, 6 days of testimony and evidence boil down to a deliberation less than a half hour long.
State of South Carolina versus William Gray Bud Ackerman.
Did you have a feeling about what that verdict might be?
Yes. Yeah, a quick verdict like that is not good. Not good.
We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant guilty.
Bud Ackerman is guilty of the murder of Davis McClendon.
It was the right verdict.
I mean, I thought it would be fast, not that fast.
Not just fast, but too fast to be thought through, says Bud Ackerman's attorney, Jack Swirling.
I don't think the jury considered everything that was presented to them.
They didn't need a lot of time to stew over the evidence. The evidence was clear and obvious.
Damning evidence of what Bud Ackerman did, say Davis McClendon's friends, and equally damning evidence, they say, of what Bud Ackerman never did.
Our friend laid there in the road.
They still can't wrap their head around why nobody in the Ackerman family ever called 911.
Somebody should have done the right thing.
At sentencing, right after the verdict, Davis McClendon's son demands accountability from the Ackermans.
It is time for this spoiled, evil individual and this spoiled, evil family in Greenwood to finally gain some repercussions for their actions. Thank you.
A lot's been said about why
We didn't call 911.
Bud Ackerman's father tries to explain his own lack of action by saying he was too disoriented to know what to do at that hour of the night when his son woke him with the news. The judge's sentence is devastating to the defendant.
Mr. Ackerman, if you please stand, sir. Sentence of the court is, Mr. Ackerman, you be committed to the State Department Corrections period of 45 years.
It looks like the end of the road for Bud Ackerman.
I know that where he is where he's supposed to be.
But it may allow for a new beginning for Meredith Haney.
I was worried that if he only got 5 or 10 years, that I'd never get to start a new life because I'd be scared for when he got out.
With their father unlikely to get out of prison for decades, she's determined to spare her children from the impact of that horrible night. As a single mom, she leans on friends and family.
How are the kids doing?
We'll make it through.
Looking back, she believes Bud Ackerman really wanted to target her that night, and that she's only alive because he found Davis McClendon first.
Davis saved my life.
You really feel that way?
Absolutely.
If true, Meredith Haney owes her life, however challenging, to the new man she had once hoped to share it with.
How would you like Davis to be remembered?
As a hero, for the way he treated people, for his empathy, for his heart. He was just a good person.
CBS next Saturday. A soldier suspected of killing his young wife. He's been trained on how to kill. Goes on the run.
He just disappeared off the face of the map.
With his 17-year-old girlfriend.
If he was willing to kill his own wife, there's no telling what kind of danger Hannah Thompson would have been in.
48 Hours is all new. CBS next Saturday, 10/9 Central, and streaming on Paramount+.
I wake up every single day and I cry and I miss her. It's so frustrating because you can look back and you wish you did more. Maybe my sister was scared to go to the law because her husband was a police officer.
Jones County District Attorney's Office. I believe Seth Peralt was an individual that had a lot of people fooled.
Say hi, Bunny. He doesn't want to say hi.
I think he hid behind a badge and wore a mask every day. Nice house, nice car, law enforcement. But behind that door to that house, he was pretty abusive.
Stop the camera. No, let's not. Let's tell the truth.
Stop the camera.
No. Maybe she was scared to get out.
It's February 3rd, 2020. Set the scene for me. What happened?
I'm sitting at my desk in my office. That was it. And the phone rings, and it's the police chief. He said, I got Seth Peralt on the phone. He's told me his wife had killed herself. And I knew that we needed to get there and get this matter investigated and do it right.
Describe what you saw when you got to the scene.
Seth Peralt's sitting on the front steps. He's sitting there, hands holding over his face. I asked him to go inside and search the house, and he gave consent for that.
Had you ever seen a suicide that looked like that?
I never seen anything like that. Her body is flat on her back, her legs are almost together, and her arms are tucked against her side. with her hands cupped. This wasn't right.
He's worked a lot of cases. He told me, he said, the scene is not right. There's something not adding up.
And the more we investigated, the odder it got.
Obviously, we have a death investigation here.
I asked him would he come downtown to talk to us further.
I don't know how this happened.
He said that they were in bed and they were arguing.
All I know is my wife was upset. She looked at me and said, I can't do it no more.
He loved her. She was his world. He'd never done anything to harm her ever.
My wife looked at me and executed herself. And if you look at the logistics of it, you're going to see that I had nothing to do with it.
We all called Sheriff Sills that night and said, we know our sister didn't do this. We know she didn't take her own life, that he had something to do with this.
While looking in your face as a law enforcement officer, I did not do anything. I had nothing to do with it.
7 months later, the medical examiner's report comes out. And what does it say?
Suicide. Well, I was astounded.
Dr. Darsow is a renowned medical examiner. So her certification of suicide, we thought was basically open shot. You have to remember, she works for the state. I'm Justin Kinney, an attorney for Seth Peralt. It all came down to the forensics. Could the state actually prove that Seth had pulled the trigger and shot his wife in the head?
Just an hour and a half after Seth Peralt said his 44-year-old wife, Amanda, shot herself right in front of him, he was struggling to tell his story.
I'm in shock. My wife of 8 years that I love more than anything in this world. I don't know even where to start, sir. I've lost everything in my life.
44-year-old Peralt, then a police officer for the city of Eatonton, Georgia, told the county sheriff Howard Sills that his wife Amanda had shot herself in the head.
What did he say happened?
He said that they were in bed and they were arguing, and then all of a sudden she just produced the gun out of thin air and executed herself.
I just sat there and watched my wife execute herself.
In all my years of questioning anybody for suicide, I have never heard anybody use the term executed.
I knew she hadn't. I knew that he was lying.
From the very beginning, Angie and Alicia Johnson say they had questions about what happened to their sister Amanda.
We knew better. We knew our sister. Amanda loved life.
She wouldn't put us through this.
About 8 years earlier, in the fall of 2011, a recently divorced Amanda met Seth Peralt online.
I remember being kind of excited about it. He treated her differently from some of the past relationships she had been in where, you know, she wasn't respected.
Seth, battling cancer and unemployed at the time, seemed to fall for Amanda fast and hard.
And they moved in fairly quick. Like, he had her move in within 6 months of them meeting.
Seth was living an hour away with his mother, who was caring for him. But Angie says Amanda would quickly take over the role of Seth's caretaker.
When she moved out there, he didn't want her to work.
They say Seth's parents were paying all of the couple's bills and helping with expenses for Seth's daughter from a previous relationship.
So Seth was basically dependent on his family.
Very much.
And Amanda was dependent on Seth.
For the longest time, like, he wouldn't let her have any kind of phone, cell phone, or anything like that. It would be his phone or a landline.
She didn't even have a car to drive. He monitored her constantly.
As time went on, Alicia and Angie say they saw less and less of their sister.
He kept us from being able to see her. So
She didn't come to like any of our Christmas events or like any of our events because she had to host for his family and cook for all of them.
Amanda lived with Seth for 5 years. Then, on June 23, 2017, the couple surprised everyone when they quietly went to the local courthouse and got married. Angie and Alicia believe the only reason Seth married their sister was to help him get custody of his daughter.
That's why I feel like he asked her to marry him.
Seth's custody battle had been going on for almost exactly a year at that point.
Do you think Seth marrying Amanda helped him gain custody?
Absolutely.
Seth's attorney, Justin Kenny.
If Amanda was going to be present in his daughter's life, they had to get married. I think that was one of the paramount issues for him to gain custody.
Kenny says Seth did love Amanda and his daughter and was just trying to do what he thought was best for everyone.
This was a guy that doted on his daughter. He was a family man. He would dote on his wife. I just thought he was a stand-up individual.
A few months after Amanda and Seth were married, he was granted custody of his daughter. A little over a year later, he was hired by the Eatonton Police Department, and his father bought him this house near Lake Oconee.
She loved their new home.
This should have been everything she hoped for.
Yeah, it was, you know, except for the relationship.
Alicia and Angie say they didn't know just how bad things had gotten, but were hearing more and more stories of fighting fueled by alcohol.
I've heard stories in interviews that, you know, when they were sober, they were loving toward one another. But it's when alcohol came into the mix, that's when it became toxic.
A little over a year after joining the police force, Seth fell down some stairs at the couple's home and had to go on medical leave. Now, along with the alcohol, there were pain pills, and the sisters say the fighting seemed to be escalating.
You could hear it, like on phone calls.
His tone and demeanor around her.
I would ask, do you want me to call 911? Can I call 911?
She would tell you, no, don't call. You know, we've just been drinking. Everything will be okay later on. Maybe she knew her situation would become even worse, you know.
Then things did get worse. On January 28, 2020, just days before her death, Amanda called 911.
Putnam County Sheriff's Office, could you help, please? Yes, thank you.
She called me. She had barricaded herself in a back bedroom.
It's my husband. He's putting his hands on me.
She ended up having to run next door.
He locked me out of the house, and I'm just trying to get my things out of the house, please.
She's at the neighbor's house right now.
Another sheriff's dispatcher was alerted.
And she said her husband is an officer with the Eatonton Police Department.
That second dispatcher said he knew Seth Peralt and said he had a reputation.
I ain't supposed to know this, but he's been out of work with his back, and apparently he's over there whipping up on her ass.
Seth made local headlines when he was arrested on charges of simple battery and family violence.
She told me, would I come get her the next morning? And I told her yes, to make sure to pack everything, have it ready.
Instead, Amanda decided to attend Seth's bond hearing. When the judge agreed to release Seth on bail, he asked Amanda if she wanted a stay-away order added. Amanda said no, and then let Seth come home.
Because she was scared. She knew he was mad. She knew that it was public that he had been arrested. He's a police officer. You know, I have to bring him home and make this right. I talked to her the day he got out, and I said, how are things? And she said, he's being unusually nice.
Alicia says she doubted Seth's new attitude and felt that underneath he must be seething, knowing that if he was convicted on abuse charges, he was in danger of losing custody of his daughter and his job.
He knew he was going to embarrass his family, and he had already put himself up here on this pedestal like he was king, and then to be humiliated in front of people, I think it made him very angry.
Alicia says Amanda was terrified and looking for a way out.
We were all on a chain message, and we were telling her, just get out, divorce him, tell his father that you don't want anything but a vehicle. And she said, I'm not trying to get killed.
Just 5 days later, Amanda was dead. Sheriff Howard Sills says that from the very start of his investigation into the death of Amanda Peralt, he wasn't buying her husband's story.
I knew something was wrong the day I walked in the house.
For starters, the position of Amanda's body, depicted in this 48 hours animation based on the crime scene photos, left Sills certain that Amanda could not have shot herself.
Okay, this is the actual gun.
Also of concern to Sills was the way this Smith & Wesson 380, which belonged to Seth, was found lying next to Amanda's body with its magazine ejected.
The magazine, it was near her right side, and the pistol itself was way down here below her left foot.
What made the ejected magazine even more curious, says Sills, is the fact that there was a bullet found inside the gun's chamber.
It's a semi-automatic gun, so when it fires, the slide comes back, the spent cartridge casing is ejected, and it picks up the next round.
Because of that bullet in the chamber, the magazine had to be ejected after the gun was fired, says Sills. And unless the gun is defective, the only way to eject the magazine is to push this button.
Now, don't do this at home, but when you do this, how are you gonna get your second hand around there to do it?
There was also no blood on Amanda's hands or the long sleeves of her shirt, and something else caught the sheriff's eye.
In the middle of the closet, on the floor, was a damp green towel. Somebody had dried off with it, no doubt about that.
One of the first deputies on the scene said Seth smelled like shampoo. Also alarming, the bedroom was littered with 20 miniature bottles of Fireball whiskey, all of them empty. Sills says he didn't have the manpower to process the scene, so he called in agents from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. While they collected physical evidence and Amanda's body was transported to the state medical examiner, Sills focused on Seth.
He came in and sat right in this blue leather chair.
Seth spoke to Sills in his office for over an hour without an attorney present.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I have no reason to lie to you.
I wanted to know what had happened that day. How did the magazine get out of the gun? How did the gun get where it was?
Did you touch that gun today? The 380? Yeah. I mean, it's been like, no. Today? No, sir.
How does her body get into that position?
No answer.
Because he never touched her?
No, never touched her.
But Sills says that didn't make any sense, so he kept pressing. And then Seth changed his story.
How are you? Maybe I did. I don't know. I probably did touch her. I was probably hugging the out of her. And I was probably like, I'm so, like, honey, what the hell's going on?
Sheriff Sills says Seth tried several times to deflect questions with his badge.
I take pride in being a good law enforcement agent.
And I can't remember how many times he looked me in the eye and said, I'm a good police officer.
I'm a good officer. I'm a good police officer. I'm a good police officer. I'm a good officer. I'm a good police officer.
Amanda, he said, also knew what a good cop he was and how assault charges would ruin both their lives.
She hated to see my reputation destroyed on the news because she knows what a good police officer I am. And she was so worried I'd lose my daughter. She wanted to come down here and tell you that it was a lie.
Seth insisted that Amanda had lied the day she called 911 and felt so bad about it that she wanted to confess to perjury.
He said that she had written something that she intended to bring to me, recanting what she had told the deputies, and he told me where it was.
This handwritten letter was found in Amanda's nightstand. It reads in part, "I, Amanda Perrault, would like to retract my statement. My husband never put his hands on me ever. I feel horrible for the humiliation I put my husband and my family through. I am willing to take any punishment I may deserve for what I have done."
I don't deny she wrote it, but look at the penmanship. There's not the slightest error of any kind. What we've got here is an inexperienced police officer dictating what's to be written.
Like Sills, Amanda's sisters are certain Seth was behind the letter.
She wrote it, but she was coached. I think he was telling her, I need you to write this to get me out of trouble.
But Seth told Sills he was not about to let Amanda confess to lying to authorities.
I knew if she came down here, it was a false statement and a felony. I knew it.
But according to Seth, Amanda couldn't take the guilt anymore, so she put his gun to her head and pulled the trigger.
She looked at me and said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I put you through this. Boom. I couldn't even say a word, Sheriff. It was done.
Seth tried to convince Sills that Amanda killed herself because her call to 911 had potentially ruined their lives. But the sheriff didn't see that as a reason for suicide. Instead, he saw a motive for murder. Believing that Amanda would never take her own life, this made sense to her sisters as well.
He had to make it look like she took her life so that he could be cleared of all this wrongdoing.
Sheriff Sills says he was convinced that Seth Perrault was somehow involved in his wife's death. But that day, he felt he didn't have enough to arrest him.
I wanted to see if I could get some more evidence. And I did.
One of the clues that convinced Sheriff Sills that Seth Perrault wasn't telling the truth were his actions just 20 minutes before he reported his wife Amanda was dead. That's when Sills' deputy, Terrell Abernathy, arrived at his front door, trying to deliver paperwork on an upcoming case.
They had one of those video doorbell things, and I rang that.
The scene was captured in this video.
I expected him to answer the door, and I expected to hand him his copy of the subpoena. I mean, you're a policeman. You know how this works.
Abernathy says he could tell someone was home.
And what'd you hear?
I heard footsteps or footfalls, heavy ones. I'm announcing myself, who I am, what it is. I even turned my back to the door. I don't care if you're in your underwear. Just answer the door and take the paper.
He waited 7 minutes and then left, subpoena still in hand.
In my heart, I believe that Amanda Perrault had already been shot when Abernathy rang the doorbell. I think he was concerned that somebody heard the gunshot, and that's why he didn't go to the door.
District Attorney Wright Barksdale believes Seth was trying to figure out what to do next.
Think about this. He's in the process of staging this scene, and he hears the doorbell ring. Can you imagine what was going through his mind?
But attorney Justin Kenney says that is not what happened.
Why didn't they come to the door when Deputy Abernathy rang that bell?
Fear of what he's bringing. Seth is afraid that his ex is about to serve him with custody modification paperwork.
What does that say happened after that?
So, I believe there is a heated discussion that takes place. He lays down, diffuse the situation, he lays down to take a nap. He awoke to Amanda mumbling something, whispering something, and her pulling the trigger and shooting herself.
Kenny points out that Amanda was impaired by alcohol, 3 times the legal limit when tested by the medical examiner. That and the escalating tension in her marriage became a deadly combination.
The nice house, the daughter, the financial security, all of this was crumbling around Amanda. And then you tack on a 0.23 blood alcohol content. She thought that that was the only way to fix it, to end it.
She was really drunk.
Absolutely.
Maybe she accidentally shot the gun.
How'd she accidentally get the magazine out of it? How'd she accidentally get posed as she was?
Sills was also very troubled because Seth didn't call 911 when his wife allegedly shot herself. Instead, Perrault called his boss, the Eatonton chief of police, on his cell phone. 48 hours made several unsuccessful attempts to reach the former chief for comment.
Obviously, we're not going to have a recording of that, and they have at least a 20-minute conversation before I'm called.
Hoping the Perrault's neighbors had heard something the day Amanda died, Sills had Deputy Abernathy go back to the Perrault house to question them. What he learned made Sills even more suspicious about Seth's involvement in Amanda's death.
We found out that there had been a true pattern of domestic violence for years and years.
Neighbors said the couple could be heard fighting nearly every day, and in their eyes, Seth was almost always the aggressor.
They told stories about a physical altercation between Seth and Amanda where he actually grabbed her by the back of the hair and pulled her down and pushed her into the driveway.
One neighbor told Abernathy that he would often stand by in case things got really violent.
He talked about how at times he would just stand in the yard and just wait to see if he needed to call 911 because it was so violent over there.
Another neighbor said that Amanda had twice made this chilling comment.
That if she were to wind up dead, that Perrault is the one that did it, and she made this neighbor promise that she would insist that her death be investigated as homicide.
Did anyone call the police?
No.
Why not?
Well, one of the answers was that, well, we were scared to call because he was the police.
It's hurtful. It's hurtful. And this is why I wanted to do this show, is to make sure that people know to speak up.
The day Amanda died, the neighbors said they didn't hear a thing. The only witness to what happened was Seth Perrault, and Sills was sure he couldn't trust him after the interview in his office.
According to Seth, they take the child to school, they come back home, and they go nowhere at all other than down the street to the convenience store. Well, that didn't happen. He lied.
Sills says the proof was on this surveillance camera footage of the couple, found 12 miles away at this drive-through liquor store, where Amanda bought those 20 miniature bottles of Fireball whiskey.
She drives up this drive-in window. Right there's the camera that catches the truck.
I see it.
Simultaneously, Seth was captured on a camera next door at this convenience store.
You see him walk, and he actually comes down, I believe it's this aisle, and he walks, and he gets something to drink.
This video, says Barksdale, would become a crucial piece of evidence, not because of what was purchased, but because of what Seth was wearing. This Pink Floyd t-shirt and these black athletic pants. Nearly 4 hours later, when sheriff's deputies arrived at the Perrault home to investigate Amanda's death, Seth was wearing something else.
When we get there, he is dressed in shorts and a dark t-shirt.
And the clothing Seth was wearing in the video?
We found those in the washing machine.
The clothing was dry and had clearly not been laundered. But there was that deputy who had reported that Seth smelled freshly washed. And there was that damp towel that was found on the closet floor.
Seth says he took a bath
Seth's attorney, Justin Kenny, says Seth did wash up at some point.
After you take a bath, you're going to change clothes. There was no evidence that the washing machine had actually been turned on. It looked like the washing machine was being used as a laundry basket.
Only a tiny speck of blood was found on the backside of Perrault's pants, and a trace amount of gunpowder residue was found on his left hand when tested.
They did it 3 hours later after potential contamination from being at the police station.
Amanda's hands were never tested, and the gun was never dusted for fingerprints. But Sills felt he now had enough evidence to make an arrest. Just 2 days after Amanda's shooting, now former Eatonton police officer Seth Perrault was taken into custody.
Sheriff Sills called me and let me know that they were going to arrest him for her murder. And my whole family just was so relieved and happy that
she was getting justice.
Yes.
But before a grand jury could hear the evidence and decide if there was enough to go to trial, COVID shut down the courts. Seth would sit in this jail for nearly 9 months until that autopsy report was released by the medical examiner, declaring Amanda's death a suicide. Her decision was based primarily on the lack of gunpowder around the wound, which meant the gun would have to have been right up against Amanda's head when it went off, and there were no signs of a struggle.
Nobody is just going to allow somebody to put a gun to their head and pull the trigger without putting up some sort of fight.
The first thing I just called the DA. I said, you're not going to believe this.
Did you think maybe you made a mistake?
Absolutely not. We're going to take every bit of the evidence and try to piece this thing together.
But Justin Kenny did think the prosecution was making a mistake and that the autopsy report was all the evidence needed to defend Seth Perrault.
I mean, it seemed pretty open shut to me.
It was November 3rd, 2020, and Seth Perrault, still unindicted, had been in jail for nearly 9 months. When COVID restrictions finally eased, a grand jury was set to decide if there was enough evidence against him to go to trial.
And you know the first thing I put up for that grand jury to see?
The crime scene pictures.
No, ma'am. The autopsy report that said suicide. Ladies and gentlemen, the State Crime Lab medical examiner says this was a suicide. Now, I'm going to show you the evidence I found.
Members of the grand jury did see the crime scene photos and heard evidence of domestic abuse, and quickly decided that despite the medical examiner's report, Seth Perrault should face a jury of his peers.
What were the charges?
Malice murder, felony murder, and aggravated assault.
Perrault pled not guilty to all charges. At his trial in February of 2022, he decided not to testify, leaving defense attorney Justin Kenny to tell his story.
I think there was a complete absence of sufficient evidence that Seth killed his wife.
The prosecution showed a jury of 8 women and 4 men the crime scene photos, including the way Amanda's body and the gun were found. They also heard testimony from that sheriff's deputy who thought Seth smelled freshly showered. They watched the footage of Deputy Abernathy at the Perrault's front door and listened to all 60 minutes of Perrault's interview with Sheriff Sills.
I don't know how this happened.
District Attorney Barksdale says that some of the most compelling evidence was found on Amanda's cell phone, like this video she recorded 7 months prior to her death.
It's sad because you know what? I married you, and dude, you're done.
I'm done.
Amanda's sisters were seeing the video for the first time.
It made me angry.
I want to have a good weekend.
You burn that up when you try to put that phone in my face.
What phone in your face?
Oh, right there. Oh, you're videotaping.
Yeah, because you're being a and I'm going to show you tomorrow.
You didn't videotape all the you when you hit me and smacked me?
Hit you? Yeah. You fucking choked me 8
time.
The video was problematic, but it doesn't show everything that took place. Seth also states that she had acted violently toward him as well.
There was no evidence of Seth having been abused introduced at trial. But Amanda's phone also contained photos of her with bruises, a black eye, and a split lip, along with texts like this one to her sisters. Seth just choked me till I nearly passed out, busted my lip wide open.
I was scared that one of them might get hurt.
This is Seth's then 8-year-old daughter being interviewed by a forensic child psychologist. Remember, she was a witness to what happened the day Amanda called 911.
They were cussing at each other. Miss Amanda was cussing too, but she didn't touch Daddy at all. Daddy was like touching her nose like this, like, get out of my house right now.
The jury was shown most of the interview.
She was on the floor like this, trying to get her stuff. Then all of a sudden, Daddy just started grabbing her arms, and Daddy just pushed her over the laundry table, and then opened the door and pushed her out the door.
While her father spent the night in jail, she said Amanda begged her not to tell anyone what happened, or there could be deadly consequences.
Amanda tells her that night, if your daddy loses custody of you, he's going to shoot me dead.
Your daddy would come shoot me dead.
But when Barksdale called the now 10-year-old to the witness stand, she said she couldn't recall what happened that day or what she said in the interview.
She, I think, felt really torn. I seen her look at her dad a couple times. I felt like she was more careful about what she was saying, like somebody had been coaching her.
In cross-examination, the defense asked if anyone had coached her on what to say. She said no. But Justin Kenny says he believes another prosecution witness may have been coached, a jailhouse informant named Jack Falk, who had shared a dorm block with Seth Perrault.
Jack Falk has a criminal history, I believe, 28 pages long, numerous contacts with the police, and he had every incentive to lie and make up a story.
Falk had come forward 3 weeks before the medical examiner's report was released, claiming he had valuable information about Amanda's death.
He knew things that only Seth Perrault could have told him.
In these 2 handwritten letters, Falk claimed that Seth told him the camera catching him with the clothes on was his biggest concern. He also claimed that Seth said he had been giving Amanda painkillers all day and that she was passed out at the time of her death.
I think he was in the bed with her after she was passed out and held the gun against her head.
He was behind her?
Behind her or slightly to the side.
The defense argued that Amanda shot herself because her lies about Seth assaulting her had potentially ruined their lives. Furthermore, only that tiny trace of gunshot residue was found on Perrault's left hand, and there was just that one speck of blood found on his clothing. Justin Kenny says the hardest thing for the defense to explain was the way Amanda's body was found.
We knew that it was going to be a problem. The body had to be moved in some way, had to be touched in some way.
Kenny says there is one explanation that makes sense to him, something Perrault said in his interview with Sheriff Sills.
I probably did touch her. I was probably hugging the out of her.
And that would potentially account for her arms being by her sides.
As for the way Seth's gun was found beside Amanda's body with the ejected magazine by her side, the defense hired an expert who testified he fired the gun 6 times, and after one of those firings, the magazine spontaneously ejected.
It shows that that firearm can drop the magazine when it's fired.
Howard Sills took that very gun out and shot it several times. The GBI examined that gun, didn't notate in their report any malfunctions whatsoever.
It's Dr. Laura, L-O-R-A, Darasaw.
Then there was the medical examiner, Laura Darasaw. Barksdale called her to the stand and asked her to explain how she came to her conclusion of suicide as the manner of death.
What I wanted the jury and for her to see, she did not consider all the evidence. She had not considered Seth's daughter's interview. She had not considered the cell phone data, the prior domestic abuse.
You didn't videotape all the
But Dr. Darasaw defended her conclusion. And in this statement to 48 Hours, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation backed her up. Our agency stands behind the original expert opinion of Perrault's death.
Were you worried at all about the verdict?
When I try to remind myself, it is my job to pursue justice and to present a case for the jury to consider. And if they were to walk him out the door, I would be able to look to Amanda Perrault's family and say, we did everything we could.
Go inside the case and see more of the evidence at 48hours.com.
When they called us all back in, we all just held hands and dropped our head.
It had been just under 2.5 hours when the jury in the murder trial of Seth Perrault announced that they had reached a verdict.
I just remember praying, saying, God, just please, please do this for our family. Let us have justice for our sister.
And justice is what they feel they got. The verdict, guilty of murder.
It was bittersweet because we got justice, but it didn't bring her back. It didn't bring our best friend back.
That same day, Perrault was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
I want many years of him praying to God and being on his knees that he would have took his own life instead of my sister's.
Justin Kenny says he believes an innocent man is now behind bars for life.
My heart sank. I've known Seth for almost a decade now, and I don't think he did it.
Every August on her birthday, Amanda's sisters honor her memory by releasing love letters tied to purple balloons.
I love you, Amanda. I hope you're having a beautiful birthday in heaven.
Happy birthday, dear Amanda. Happy birthday to you.
In 2022, the notes also included the National Domestic Abuse Hotline number.
And hopefully this will find somebody that really needs it.
We just want to create awareness around domestic abuse and for people to don't sit back and just let it happen, no matter what the victim is telling you. Fight for them, help them any way you can. There's so many things I wish I could go back now and do different. I wish I could go back and save her.
You're gonna save somebody with this.
I hope so.
Taken from her friends and family too soon.
She was artistic, she was creative, she was smart, she was feisty.
A murderer roams free for too long.
There was that constant fear. Is this gonna happen again?
You will never forget Sarah Yarborough. 48 Hours, next on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.